I came home after a double shift at the hospital, and my 7-year-old daughter was missing. My mom said, "We voted. You don't get a say." My sister was already stripping my daughter's room like it was a takeover. I stayed calm and said this. My parents and sister went pale. At 11:03 a.m., I stood on the front step in my work shoes, keys still in my hand, and listened. Not for anything dramatic. For my daughter, Kora. A cartoon theme song, Little Feet, a random mom from down the hall. Instead, I heard activity, voices, laughter. The kind of bright, busy energy that usually only shows up in this house when someone is about to ask me for something. My body was begging for sleep. My head was still full of fluorescent lights and beeping monitors. I'd been on my feet so long my bones felt like they'd been rented out. But I'd been looking forward to this day anyway. 2 hours of sleep, maybe 3 if I got lucky. Then the whole afternoon with Kora, bedtime together. Then I'd crash properly. That was the plan. I stepped inside, and my instincts immediately went wrong. The house smelled like coffee and syrup, and I could hear my mom's bright voice, the one she uses when she's trying to sell you on something. Then I saw my sister Allison in the hallway, in socks, hauling flattened boxes. A ring light box was propped against the wall, already opened. She looked up, smiled without showing her teeth, and said, "Oh, you're home," like I was interrupting. I didn't smile back. I didn't say hello. I didn't ask why there were boxes in the hallway. I just walked past her, straight to Kora's room, because I'm a mother, not a tourist. I pushed the door open and stopped so fast my shoulder hit the frame. The room looked like it had been hit by a polite tornado. Kora's bed was stripped down to the mattress. Her blanket, the one she refuses to sleep without, was folded and shoved into a laundry basket like it was an inconvenience. Her stuffed bunny was sitting upright on the dresser, turned toward the wall. The rug was rolled halfway up, and the walls were bare in patches, where her drawings and little posters used to be. There was painter's tape stuck to the baseboards. A measuring tape stretched across the floor, and on the desk sat a stack of printed photos, inspo, all beige and white and aggressively adult. This wasn't cleaning. This was repurposing. This was, your child doesn't live here anymore, so her room is available. My throat tightened. I turned in a slow circle like maybe she was hiding behind something. "Kora?" I called, softly at first. Nothing. I stepped farther into the room. The closet door was open. Her backpack was gone. My hands went cold. I turned back into the hallway. Allison was leaning against the wall. "Where is she?" I asked. Allison blinked at me, all innocence. "Where's who?" My voice stayed even. "Where is my daughter?" Before Allison could answer, my mom's voice floated from the kitchen. "Oh, honey," she called, like she was about to offer me a plate of pancakes. "Come in here." I didn't move. "Where is Kora?" Footsteps. Then my mom appeared at the end of the hallway, wiping her hands on a dish towel like she was in a commercial. My dad stood behind her. Allison shifted beside me, suddenly very interested in her nails. I repeated myself. "Where is Kora?" My mom smiled, tight and bright. "We voted." I stared at her. What?" She lifted her chin. "We voted. You don't get a say." I felt the world go quiet, like someone turned down the volume on everything except my heartbeat. "You voted," I repeated slowly, because my brain refused to accept it at normal speed. "About what?" My dad crossed his arms. "It's been discussed." "It's been—" I let out a short, breathless laugh that didn't contain any humor. "You held a vote. About my child." My mom's expression hardened. "You're never here, Hannah. You work all the time." "I work," I said, "because bills don't care about feelings. Now, where is she?" Allison chimed in, casual as a weather report. She's with her dad. The air in my chest vanished. With Stephen, I said, and it came out flat. My mom nodded like she'd just solved a math problem. Where she's supposed to be. My hands tingled. My 7-year-old barely knows him. He's still her father, my dad said. Biologically, I said, and my voice stayed calm in that dangerous way, calm like I was holding something heavy and trying not to drop it. My mom sighed like I was exhausting her. We had to make a decision. You don't have the outside perspective. You're too close to it. I'm her mother, I said. That's the perspective. Allison stepped forward, pointing down the hallway like a real estate agent. And besides, we need that room. I stared at her. You need Kora's room. Allison didn't even flinch. I work from home now. I need an office, a studio. You can't film content with a child running around. I looked from her to my mom. You're turning her room into a studio. My mom said, we can't have a child here in the house. It's disturbing. Disturbing. My daughter. Existing. My dad added, and you can't take care of her. You're always at work. So why are you acting shocked? I felt something cold and clear settle into place inside me. Not anger yet. Something sharper. I took a slow breath. Then I turned away and walked to the bathroom. Not because I was running. Because if I stayed in that hallway, I was going to say something that would set the whole house on fire, and I needed the fire later, when it would matter. I locked the door. I stared at myself in the mirror. Work-worn face, tired eyes, the look of a woman who has spent years trying to be reasonable with unreasonable people. I put both hands on the sink and breathed. In, out, in, out. Then I unlocked the door and stepped back into the hallway. They were still talking, still justifying, still acting like they were the committee in charge of my life. I walked toward them, calm, steady, different. I stayed calm and said one sentence. They all stopped, and the color drained from their faces. They stared at me like they'd never seen me before, which was funny, in a dry kind of way, because they'd spent my whole life training me to be the version of me that wouldn't scare them, the one who didn't push back, the one who took whatever was handed to her and called it family. But the woman standing in that hallway, she wasn't asking for permission anymore. And watching their faces shift, subtle, then sharper, pulled me backward through time. Because this didn't start today. It started when I was a kid. My sister Allison is 2 years younger than me. 2 years is nothing now. But in our house, it was a crown. Allison was the favorite. Not in the obvious way where parents say it out loud. They did it the quiet way, the way that lets them deny it later. Allison got praised for being special. I got praised for being helpful. Allison was creative. I was responsible. If Allison cried, my mom moved like an emergency alarm went off. If I cried, my dad would say, "You're fine." So I learned how to be fine. I learned how to be useful. I learned how to anticipate what they wanted before they said it. Because if you're useful, you get tolerated. And even when I was little, I could feel it. The way they wanted me, not gone exactly, but out of the way. Fast forward to adulthood. I became a nurse because nursing makes sense. There's a problem, you address it. Someone is hurt, you help. You don't vote on whether they deserve care. Then I met Stephen. He was charming in the way people are charming when they know how to be. Funny. Easy. The kind of person who made you relax your guard. I got pregnant. Stephen went quiet. Then he said, flat and clear, I don't want kids. Like he was picking a side dish. I was young enough to think love could fix it. Old enough to know I wasn't ending my pregnancy because a man wanted to stay comfortably irresponsible. So I had Kora. Stephen held her once, briefly, awkwardly, like she was fragile and unfamiliar. After that, he faded. He didn't show up for the hard parts. He didn't show up for the normal parts either. He'd appear a few times a year, say something like, "Hey kiddo," take a photo like proof of life, and disappear again. We never went to court. Not because I didn't believe in paperwork, because Stephen didn't believe in parenting. And you can't negotiate custody with someone who treats involvement like an optional subscription. So Kora lived with me. When she was about 5, I had a job that technically worked. Not glamorous, not impressive. But it fit. Part-time hours, predictable shifts. The kind of schedule that lets a single mom do daycare pickup without sprinting through a parking lot like she's in a crime show. Money was tighter, sure, but Kora was safe. I was present. I could breathe. And then I got offered the position nurses actually want. Better pay. Real career traction. The kind of step up you don't get twice. The catch was the schedule. Brutal hours, sometimes doubles. The kind of job that looks great on paper and destroys your life in practice if you don't have support. My first instinct was to say no. I mentioned it casually to my parents, more like I was thinking out loud than asking for anything. And that's when they did a sudden emotional U-turn so fast it should have come with warning lights. Because before that, they weren't warm with Kora. Not openly cruel. Nothing you could point at and call out. Just distant. Like she was a guest's child who might spill juice. They also didn't care about my career. Not really. So when my mom suddenly said, "You have to take it," I actually thought I'd misheard. "You can move in here," she said, breathless with enthusiasm. "We'll help. We're retired. We can do childcare. You can't pass this up." My dad nodded. Allison, still living at home as an adult, said, "It's a one-time opportunity. You'd be stupid not to." It was suspicious. And then the reason finally surfaced. They were about to lose the house. My childhood home. The place they treated like a throne. They were drowning in debt. About $68,000 in unsecured debt. And they were roughly $19,400 behind on the mortgage and taxes. Their credit was wrecked. They couldn't refinance, they couldn't borrow, they couldn't fix it. And my stable, better-paying job? That was their lifeline. They sat me down like they were pitching a plan. "We need you to sign some things," my mom said. "What things?" I asked, already feeling my skin prickle. "A loan," my dad said. "In your name." My stomach dropped. "No!" "It's temporary," my mom said quickly. "We'll pay you back." Allison smiled like she was sharing a genius trick. "Your credit is good. Ours is not." And then came the part they tried to toss out like a minor detail. "The house would need to be transferred into your name," my mom said, too fast. "Just for the paperwork. It's just a formality." A formality. They wanted me to take on the liability, carry the debt, risk my future, and they still expected to keep the power. I didn't like it. I didn't trust it. But I also couldn't watch them lose the house. And this is the part that still makes me angry at myself. I wanted to believe they meant the rest of it. The childcare, the "we love having Kora here," the sudden enthusiasm. So I said yes. I put in about $24,000 of my savings up front. I took on a monthly house payment of about $2,350 in my name. I signed what they put in front of me. The house was transferred into my name, and they called it a formality. At first the deal held. They did childcare. I worked. Kora adjusted. Then the paperwork cleared. The house was safe. The crisis was over. And it was like the deal vanished. Suddenly, I was dumping my child on them. Suddenly, my job was a bad choice. Suddenly, I was never here, like they hadn't insisted I take the schedule. Allison started complaining the most. About noise, about space, about needing a home office and a studio, about content. and Kora became the problem. Too loud, too present, too inconvenient. My parents backed Allison the way they always had. Then the comments started. Well, there is a dad. Why isn't she with him more? You can't rely on us forever. I didn't take it seriously because Stephen wasn't a father in any way that mattered, and because I never believed my parents would actually do what they were hinting at. I thought it was control, pressure, threats, until I came home at 11:03 a.m. after a double shift, and Kora's room was being dismantled like she'd never existed there. And my mom said, "We voted." And in that hallway, watching their faces tighten, I realized the talking had turned into action. I looked at them, calm, steady, and I opened my mouth. "I want you out of my house within 30 days, I said quietly. "All of you." The hallway went so still I could hear the fridge hum. My mom blinked at me like I'd just announced I was moving to the moon. My dad's mouth opened once and closed again. Allison's confident little smile shattered. "What do you mean?" my mom snapped. "What are you talking about?" my dad added, louder, like volume could rewrite reality. I didn't answer. I didn't argue. I walked to my room because there's a certain kind of power in not explaining yourself to people who have never explained themselves to you. Behind me, they kept talking. Their voices followed like gnats. "That's not your house," my mom said from the hallway. "That's ours." "Don't speak to your parents like that," my dad barked. "We made the difficult decision for you," my mom added. "You should have made it years ago." Allison's voice cut in, sharp with panic. "It's the right thing to do." I kept moving. I took off my work shoes, grabbed my bag, my phone, my keys. Then I pulled open the bottom drawer of my dresser and took out the folder I'd been avoiding for years, the one with the paperwork, the one that proved what was just a formality. I slid it into my bag without looking at it too long, because if I did, I'd remember every moment I'd swallowed my doubts to save them. I walked back out. They were waiting, watching me like I was suddenly dangerous. "I will send you legal papers shortly," I said. "I want you out of this house." My mom froze in a way that wasn't performative this time. My dad snapped, "You can't do that." Allison turned to him, voice pitching up. "Can she do that? What does she mean?" I didn't answer. I walked out the front door. No yelling, no scene, no dramatic monologue. Just a clean exit. And behind me, I heard the scramble. The sudden shift from smug certainty to panicked calculation. In the car, my hands were steady on the wheel. My heart wasn't. I called Stephen. No answer. Again. Voicemail. Of course, I drove anyway, because sitting still would have turned into spiraling, and spiraling doesn't get your kid back. Why didn't he call me? Why wasn't he answering? Why did my parents feel comfortable delivering my child like a package? I called again. Nothing. So I did the next thing. I called his mother. Susan picked up on the first ring. Her voice was cold, like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Hannah," she said. "Do you know where Kora is?" I asked, and I heard the crack in my own voice. "My parents said she's with Stephen, but he isn't answering. Is she okay?" "She will stay with us," Susan said, flat and final. "And you are not getting her back." I blinked. "What?" "She's fine," Susan said. "But you are not getting her back." Then she hung up. No warning, no explanation. Just a click, like she'd closed a file. I stared at my phone for half a second like it might change its mind. It didn't. I turned the car around so fast my tires chirped. I drove to Susan and David's house with my jaw clenched hard enough to hurt. When I got there, I knocked like I was trying to knock the lie out of the door. Susan opened the door a few inches. not welcoming inches, the kind that say, "I can shut this the second you give me a reason." I didn't bother with hello. "Where's Kora?" Susan's eyes moved over me, scrubs, messy hair, the look of someone running on fumes, and she didn't soften. If anything, she looked more certain. "She's here," she said. Relief hit fast. Then she added, flat as a slammed file, "And you're not getting her back." My stomach dropped. "Excuse me?" "Your parents brought her," Susan said. "They said you knew." "I didn't," I said. "I came home, and she was gone." Susan's gaze didn't move. "They said you wanted her with Stephen." A short, humorless breath escaped me. "Stephen won't even answer his phone." That did something. Not kindness, just a flicker, like the name was an old bruise. Behind her, a floorboard creaked. Her husband David appeared in the hallway, arms crossed, face unreadable. He didn't step closer. He just watched, like he was measuring the situation and deciding what it was worth. "Is she okay?" I asked, and I hated how careful my voice sounded. Susan didn't hesitate. "She's safe." "Let me see her." Susan's hand stayed on the door. I could feel my pulse in my throat. I forced it down. Nurse mode. Controlled. Clear. "I'm not here to debate," I said. "I'm here for my daughter." Susan's eyes narrowed slightly. "You should have come with her." "I didn't send her," I said. "My parents did. Behind my back." Silence. Not peace. Calculation. David's gaze shifted, subtle, like he was checking if my story held weight. Susan's voice stayed cold. "People say anything when they want something." "Then don't take my word for it," I said. I pulled my phone from my pocket and held it up, screen facing her. One glance was enough. Missed calls to Stephen stacked like a ladder, the call to Susan, the timestamp. "I called him. No answer. I called you. You hung up." Susan didn't look at the phone for long, but David did. Just a flick. Like he couldn't help himself. I kept my voice low. "Ask Kora what she was told." Susan's jaw tightened. David didn't move for a beat. Then he spoke, calm, almost bored, like he was trying not to show his hand. "Was she upset when she arrived?" Susan's eyes flashed at him, but she answered anyway. "Yes." I nodded once. "Then you already know something's wrong." The house behind them was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl because it means someone small is sitting very still. Susan's grip on the door didn't loosen. David's eyes flicked past her shoulder toward the hallway, then back to me. Another beat. Then he shifted, just enough to create space. "Come in," he said. Not warm, just letting me through. I stepped inside, and then I saw her. Kora was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup in front of her. Her shoulders were hunched. Her hands were wrapped around the cup like it was the only solid thing in the world. She looked small in a way that made something inside me go completely still. "Kora," I breathed. Her eyes lifted to me. She didn't run. She didn't smile. She just stared, like she was waiting to see if I was real. I crossed the room and knelt beside her. "Hi, baby," I said softly. I wrapped my arms around her. She didn't hug me back. She stayed stiff, arms at her sides, like she didn't trust the moment. My chest tightened. I pulled back just enough to see her face. Her eyes were wet, but she wasn't crying the way kids usually cry. It was like she'd already cried and ran out of room for it. Then her voice came out small and broken. "Grandma said you didn't want me." My throat closed. I couldn't breathe for a second. I looked up, briefly, toward Susan and David. They were watching from the doorway, guarded and silent like they were waiting for a verdict. Then I looked back at my daughter. Honey, I said, and my voice shook. She lied. Kora's lip trembled. She said you told them. She said you were tired of me. My eyes burned. I came home, I said, carefully, like my words were the only thing holding her together. I came home and you weren't there. I was looking forward to spending the whole day with you. I drove as fast as I could. Kora's eyes searched mine. You didn't tell them? She whispered. You didn't tell them to bring me here because you don't want me? Never, I said, and my voice broke on the word. Not in a million years. Her shoulders sagged a little. Then, slowly, her arms lifted and wrapped around me. Not tight, not instantly. Cautious, but real. I held her like the world had proven it couldn't be trusted. Behind us, I could feel Susan and David watching, still guarded, still quiet. Then David cleared his throat. We thought you didn't want her, Susan said stiffly. I didn't look up. I do. David's voice came lower, steadier. We don't approve of what Stephen is like. That made me look up. His eyes were serious, not soft, but sincere. And when we believed a child was being handed over like she was unwanted, he added, we were willing to take her, without hesitation. Susan nodded once, still rigid. We weren't going to let her bounce around. I absorbed that. Not trust, not relief, information. A crack in the wall, placed late, exactly where it belonged. I stood, keeping one hand on Kora's shoulder. I'm taking her, I said. Susan didn't argue. David didn't block the door. They watched us go. Kora held my hand so tightly in the car it hurt, and I let it hurt, because it meant she was there. I drove away knowing one thing for certain. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. I didn't take Kora back to the house, not after what I'd seen in her room, not after what my mother had told her. I drove us straight to a hotel, beige walls, neutral carpet, the kind of place designed to be emotionally forgettable. Perfect. Kora climbed onto the bed with her shoes still on and stared at the TV without turning it on. I sat beside her and exhaled. Okay, I said softly. New plan. Kora looked at me, eyes wary. Are we safe? That question hit like a punch. I reached for her hand. Yes, I said. We're safe. Then I did what I do when everything is falling apart. I started handling it. I called work. Family emergency, I said to my charge nurse. I need time off. No one in a hospital asks for a full explanation when your voice sounds like that. Take what you need, she said. We'll cover. I hung up and looked at my daughter, and the mother bear part of me, quiet for too long under exhaustion and people-pleasing, stood up fully. Food first. Bath. Clean pajamas. Warm drink. Her favorite show. My hand on her back while she tried to fall asleep. I didn't unload my rage on her. I didn't hand her adult fear to carry. I just kept saying what mattered. You're with me. I've got you. No one gets to move you around. She fell asleep curled against my side like she was afraid I'd disappear. When she was breathing evenly, I checked my phone. Missed calls. So many. Mom. Dad. Allison. Texts too, angry, confused, demanding, like I owed them answers. I didn't respond. Instead, in the morning, I called a law firm and scheduled a meeting. The next day, I sat across from Mr. Brown in an office that smelled like coffee and polished wood. He had the calm face of a man who'd seen family chaos professionally and didn't flinch at it. I slid the folder across his desk, the documents I'd taken when I left. Mr. Brown flipped through them slowly. Then he looked up. The house is legally yours, he said. My lungs loosened like they'd been tight for years.
"You can absolutely evict them," he continued. "I'll send the letters and start the process."
I nodded once. "Do it." Mr. Brown's pen moved across paper.
"They'll be angry."
I let out a dry little laugh. They were angry when they voted my daughter out. At least this time their anger comes with a stamp. 2 days later, Kora was back at school. Not magically fine, not instantly healed, but back in routine. And I was back at the hospital trying to work like my personal life wasn't a disaster. I was in the hallway near the nurse's station when I heard my name. Not a coworker voice, a demanding voice. I turned, and there they were, my mom and dad, in the hospital, waving papers, the eviction documents. My mom's face was red with fury. My dad looked like he'd been chewing on anger for 2 straight days. They marched up to the desk and started raising their voices. Patients looked over. Staff stiffened. Someone in security started paying attention. I stepped forward before it became a full scene. 5 minutes, I said, clipped. That's all you get. My mom hissed. Oh, now you have limits. I led them to a side corridor near an empty consult room, close enough that staff could see me, far enough that my unit didn't have to watch this. My dad shoved the papers toward me. Explain this. My mom's voice climbed. How dare you? How dare you send lawyers after us? My dad snapped. You scammed us. You stole our house. I blinked slowly. I stole it? Yes, my mom spat. You used a loophole. You planned this. You betrayed your parents. I kept my voice flat, hospital calm. The kind of calm you use when someone is bleeding and you need your hands steady. You begged me to do it, I said. My mom scoffed. We never begged. You did, I said. You were about $68,000 in unsecured debt. You were roughly $19,400 behind on the mortgage and taxes. You couldn't refinance. Your credit was ruined. My dad's jaw tightened. I put in about $24,000 of my own savings up front, remember? I continued. I took on a monthly payment of about $2,350 in my name. I put my credit and my future on the line. My mom's eyes flashed. And you're throwing that in our faces. No, I said. I'm putting it back where it belongs. My dad stepped closer. We're your parents. I looked at him and felt something settle into place. Clean. Final. You stopped being my parents the moment you voted my daughter out, I said. My mom's voice rose higher. We made the difficult decision for you. You made it for yourselves, I said. For Allison's studio. For your comfort. For control. My mom flinched like I'd said something obscene. You dumped my child at Stevens, I said. You told her I didn't want her. My dad's eyes flicked away for half a second. Good. You don't get access to Kora, I said. Not now. Not ever. My mom snarled. You can't keep her from us. I can, I said. And I will. Their voices climbed again. Accusations, panic, rage. I took one step back and nodded to the security guard now hovering in the hallway. I'm done, I said. You've used your 5 minutes. My mom started to protest. Security stepped in. They were escorted out, still shouting, still trying to drag me back into the old role. But the role was gone. I watched them disappear through the doors, heart pounding, hands shaking, spine straight. Because power isn't loud. Power is leaving. And as I turned back toward my unit, one thought landed cleanly. They thought they could vote my daughter out. I decided to vote them out instead. A month later, my mom, my dad, and Allison had moved out. Not stormed out and came back, moved out. Actually gone. I took a new job at a clinic a town over, part-time, Stable hours, no double shifts. The kind of schedule that fits motherhood. The house held too many memories, so I rented it out, about $2,850 a month, and used the income to live comfortably on part-time work and pay for occasional childcare when I needed it. Life also got easier for a very simple reason. My mom, my dad, and Allison weren't draining my finances anymore. I went completely no contact, no calls, no texts, no just checking in. I heard through relatives that they were in a 2-bedroom rental now, and Allison was still there too, freeloading, running her influencer hobby from her bedroom, living off their pension like it was a career plan. Kora recovered slowly, not in a straight line, but slowly. She started sleeping through the night again, started laughing without checking my face first, started trusting that home meant me. And the twist I didn't expect? I stayed in contact with Susan and David. They didn't excuse Stephen. They didn't defend him. They showed up for Kora, quietly, consistently. They visit every week now, and Kora actually enjoys it. So, what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Did I steal from my parents? Was I right to kick them out and keep the property? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.